Warning, the following video contains spoilers for both the Legends of the First Empire series and the Riyria Revelation series. If you haven't read those yet, turn off this video and go read them. In many fantasy series, the dragon represents the strongest of all beasts. And while the word dragon is thrown around quite a bit, none of the major series set in Elan actually have any real dragons. Instead, they have the Gilarabrywn. In this video, we're going to cover what galarbrin actually are, go through all of the galarbrin that have appeared throughout the series so far, and answer some of the commonly asked questions. Let's get started. It's not solid, not natural. Its form isn't made, it's cast. It has its own song, its own pattern. It is the art manifested into corporeal form. I've never seen anything like it. I would have said such a thing is impossible, but I tried to push against it and nothing happened. As if it weren't really there. As if it were smoke. While a galarbrin may look like a living beast, it is actually a pure manifestation of the art. This means it cannot die or be harmed in any normal manner, and is also impervious to the art itself. Galarbrin are, however, both sentient and self-sustaining, which is part of the reason that they are so hard to create. In order to perform this weave and create one, a wielder of the art must be feeling such intense emotion that they are able to reach down and pluck Troth, the cord of creation. On the flip side, the key to destroying a galarbrin is their name. The galarbrin's true name acts as the knot in the weave. If their name can somehow penetrate their body, the knot is undone and the galarbrin's weave falls apart. The only other instance in which we see a galarbrin harmed by anything else is when Hadrian stabs one with Royce's Tur blade, Alverstone, which raises the question as to what type of magic is behind Alverstone, as it must, at least in part, not be the art. So now let's go through each of the galarbrin as they were created, and see what we can learn from each. The demon's lower body was that of a giant goat, with hooved feet and shaggy legs. Its upper body was that of a powerful man, but its head was too grotesque to be believed. Withered leathery skin wrapped muscle and bone the way a sheet stretched over a corpse. Twin horns, twisted and curled, jutted out from either side of its barren skull, where a piggish nose with flaring nostrils divided two tiny yellow eyes. A huge mouth hung open, displaying rows of pointed teeth behind glistening lips. The first galarbrin ever created was called Bulgargarith by the dwarves. Trylos created it by sacrificing his memories of Muriel. He wrote the weave down on the agave tablets, which is how Suri learned it. Trylos also forbade the galarbrin to leave Neath within his weave, which is why all subsequent galarbrin have a small range they must stay within. Suri creates the next galarbrin when she kills Mina. This is where the term galarbrin actually comes from, as Mina's Elan given name is Gilarabrywn. In fact, Trylos referred to his being as a sentinel, which may be a more accurate term, but since Bryn would go on to use the word galarbrin, that is the term that would be used for thousands of years. The sword used to destroy this galarbrin would go on to be known as the Sword of Words, and is wielded by Wraith and then subsequently the Teclor Gavin Killian. Suri also creates the next galarbrin by sacrificing Wraith at the Battle of Granford. This is the galarbrin that is on the cover of Age of Empire and would be destroyed by Nephron. An interesting fact about this galarbrin is that we learn it seems to still have a connection with Wraith once he is in Pyre, as evident when, in Pyre, Wraith tells Bryn that Persephone talks to him all the time, referring to when Persephone is talking to the galarbrin. This insinuates that the same could be true for all the other galarbrin created by sacrificing humans or Frey. We also learn that a galarbrin and its maker are connected. Suri didn't have to do anything. As the fray closed in, she instinctively tugged on the leash. She hadn't realized there was one, a static connection between her and the Gilarabrywn. The next batch of galarbrin created are by the Frey Mirrorleaf at Avampartha and in the Harwood. The range restrictions are evident with these, as it is about 25 miles from Avampartha to the southern edge of the Harwood, which means that, while the first galarbrin were created at Avampartha, the Mirrorleaf must have had to create many of them in the southern Harwood in order to prepare for the assault on the rune forces that never ends up happening. Once Nephron becomes emperor, he orders all of these galarbrin destroyed. One of them is left intact, however, and this is the galarbrin we see 3,000 years later in Riyria Revelations that assaults Dahlgren and that Thrace eventually destroys. The next galarbrin is created by Emperor Nerion during the fall of the Empire, which also shows up in Revelations. This one is particularly large, which begs the fact that the size of the galarbrin is most likely directly related to how hard the Maker can pluck Troth. Another interesting fact is that while Nerion is the one feeling the intense emotions at the time due to the death of his wife and daughter and subsequently killing himself, it appears that Esarhaddon has a hand in the actual magic. This scene is likely to be expanded upon in the upcoming Esarhaddon novel, due out summer of 2023. And finally, the last group of galarbrin we see are the ones accompanying the Frey army in Revelations. So now let's talk about some of the common questions and interesting facts surrounding galarbrin. The first being, why do galarbrin look like dragons? And the answer is, we actually see 3 different anatomical versions of galarbrin, all of which reflects the subject used as a sacrifice in their creation. Trylos sacrificed his memories, and his galarbrin took the form of a goat-human demon. Suri sacrificed Mina, a wolf, which created a 4-legged dragon, and every subsequent sacrifice was a human or Frey, which led to 2-legged dragons. In Heir of Navron, Arista mentions that Wandalay's guards were pure magic, just like a galarbrin. So are they? Arista was correct that the guards were pure magic like a galarbrin, which is because they were created with a similar principle, but they are in fact a different weave. The guards are more projections and are not sentient or self-sustaining, which is why they disappear at Wandalay's death. This makes them simpler to create, not requiring a sacrifice. How did the Frey army in Revelations appear to have galarbrin traveling with them as they conquered the human cities? Well, they used the same technique used by the Frey thousands of years earlier in the Harwood. They created them as they went. So as they got close to a city, such as Aquesta, they would have created new ones for the attack. Based on all the different galarbrin we've seen, the maximum range seems to be around 5 miles. In Revelations, while in Persepolis, Arista sees a painting where 3 men battled on a hilltop against 3 galarbrin. Those same men were seen in other images, and in one, they were pictured in a hall with a throne, where one sat with a crown, and to either side stood the other 2. The description does not seem to fit any scene we know of, so it begs the question as to whether this is just an artistic work of fiction, or whether this is commemorating something that will happen in the upcoming Rise and Fall series. And finally, the question everyone wants to know. In Age of Empire, we find out that Mina is actually galarbrin, who Elan herself even calls the greatest hero. So, who is galarbrin actually? And the answer is, we have no idea, and this question bugs me more than any other question I have. But I guess hopefully we'll find out someday. See ya!
Thank you so much for watching today's video. Be sure to subscribe and watch my other videos to learn more about the world of Elan and Riyria. Thanks!